was I think it was a couple of days ago. I love to ask about the stuff.
Tussles.
Yeah, James Pierce Jr. and I think it was Tyrone Wheatley.
Sure. I knew you. You knew he knew the name. Let's not act like he didn't know.
Tyrone Wheatley, yeah, of course, Junior. You were kind of in the middle there.
Sure.
What did you see and what was that all about?
Got a little too rough for him in a helmet practice. Those two going at each other. It's nothing new. It was a get off. It was to get off at both sides of the ball. It was a respect thing. And then when you see that happening, like for me, it's easy to get in front of those guys, catch eye contact, tell them to stop. And the only thing I can really grade those guys on is how well they listen in those moments. And when you're able to get to the eye contacts and watch them listen and go back to doing what they're supposed to do, that's what I really grade those guys on, what I love about it. I hate the fighting. I dislike it completely.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your dog, Tyler, checking in with a video. We're listening to Coach Raheem Morris's most recent press conference where he once again addresses the fighting that has been transpiring at Atlanta Falcons training camp. There have been a lot of scuffles and infighting going on as he's answering questions now from reporters about it. And as we hear, Coach Morris says that he hates the fighting. He dislikes it completely. And I do remember it might have been last week when he addressed the fight, and he spoke about how it wastes time. I might be misquoting him here a little bit, but he says, all these reps are important, and when we have fights out there, we have to break up the fights, and it takes away from time. It takes away from reps. So he's been a little more transparent now, saying, look, I completely dislike it. And that is a somewhat interesting statement, I think, because the Falcons have been criticized, and I hate to say this as a Falcons fan, but the Falcons have been criticized for a very long time for being a quote-unquote soft team. The common talk amongst us fans when we talk amongst each other is, hey man, the Falcons need to quit going out there and get getting these choir boys and go out here and get some dogs, And when you do get some dogs, that's what dogs do. They fight. You know what I mean? They fight. That's what that's what a lot of alpha men do. That's what a lot of alpha dogs do. Especially in a contact sport like football, especially in training camp, you guys are spending so much time with each other that, these are younger guys, the testosterone gets to going, and hey, man, fights break out. I remember when I was playing football back in school, me and our teammates, at practice, we would fight. So football is very common. Fighting is very common amongst football players, especially teammates in practice. It's just something that's bound to happen. That's as long as Raheem Morris has been coaching in NFL football, that's not his first fight. That's not going to be his last fight. It just happens. And you tend to like that scrappiness from your guys. You tend to think that eliminates some of the softness that may be in your team and give them, a more rough, aspect about themselves, rough and tough. And again, that dog aspect. So I do think when most of us Falcons fans heard about, all this fighting has been going on at Falcons training camp, I think a lot of us liked it. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of us liked it. And hopefully that will translate to a tougher Atlanta team this year, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. We want those dogs on the defensive side of the ball. So when you hear the reports of James Pierce Jr. in another fight, you're like, oh, yeah, hell yeah. We need some dogs on defense, man. We tired of these choir boys, man, who can't sack nobody, who always finishing toward the bottom of the league ranking in defense. So I hope this don't sound bad, but all the fighting was like music to my ears in a sense. I was happy to hear that these guys was out there busting heads. You know what I mean? As long as it don't cross a certain line, and as football players, they all know what lines not to cross. But if player A and player B, they want to do some quick, fisticuffs and, some pushing and shoving, maybe throw a jab or right hook. Hey, let's get to it, man. And after practice, hey, we shake hands and we go play Madden or whatever we gonna do, you know. But once the practice is over, then that situation is supposed to automatically eliminate itself. You never take situations like that off the field and back to the dorms or anything of that nature. So, you know, so let's continue to hear Coach Morris.
But like we say, man, things happen, but you got to be able to control those things very quickly. It helps me with the emotional intelligence of the player. It helps us with our team's development and how we want to go. You know, James is a very smart football player. You know, didn't have any personal fouls in college. He's one of those guys that.
That's a good thing. He didn't have any personal fouls in college, so that does lend to that emotional intelligence that Coach Morris is talking about here.
You know, you got to know every time Mark writes an article that every other team's looking at too, trying to antagonize you. So when these teams going to come in there and try to antagonize you,
very true. Teams will use that to try to get in the player's head. You know, if they feel like they can push your buttons real easy and get you to get a personal foul in a bad situation, they're going to utilize every trick in the book. You know, so he makes an excellent point there.
How cool and calm you remain as you continue to play and play at a very high level is very important to us.
Are you excited to see him against another team, James Pierce Jr.?
I'm excited to see James every single day in practice. I'm excited to see him against another team. I'm excited to see everybody, all of our guys. You know, like it's not just James. It's really all of our guys that go out there and play football. Jalen Walker, James Watts, you know, all of these young guys who you get significant looks at. Rook, you know, Dorless, you know, all these guys, they'll get the significant look to see these guys against other people, you know, because it does get a little tiring. I get tired of arguing with Taryn every day upstairs, right? It's like, let's get somebody else to argue with, man. Give me some new reporters to fight with. You know, it is what it is.
You may have already.
I get a phone call every day in you guys' press conference.
We've been talking to some players about kind of who they look to in the huddle, you know, when you need that energy, that, you know, the guy that kind of livens everything up in that respect. And Bijan yesterday was talking about on offense, that guy is Matthew Bergeron.
He's always that guy.
He's a guy who probably.
I'm hearing some. I've been hearing some talk about Bergeron this training camp. Speaking of Bijan, speaking of Bergeron, I watched the interview. I forget what interview it was, but Bijan Robinson was talking about, you know, the tenacity, you know, that Bergeron has shown this year in camp, so far this year. You know, speaking of having that dog in him, Bijan was talking like, hey man, you don't want to F with Bergeron because he got that dog in you, got that dog in him, and you know if you got a problem, you know, he'll help you finish. He'll help you, you know, finish that problem or he'll solve that problem for you. I guess I was trying to say, but I'm hearing some good things out of camp about Bergeron. Him stepping up, becoming more of a vocal leader on the team, you know. So that is a good sign. That is a very good sign. You know, the younger guys on the team, you know, who were once young pups, or stepping up and becoming more vocal leaders on the team in training camp. So that's something that you definitely want to see.
Now, a lot of people talk about he's a guard or whatnot, but like, what are your takeaways from Berge?
Very similar traits to James, where is always on the edge of emotional intelligence and emotional control.
Yeah, see, and Coach Morris talking about it now, like, hey man, Matthew Bergeron got to camp and then went crazy, man. Like, he got here tussling with everybody, man.
They play the game the right way. That's why you love both of them. They're angry. They got great intent. They got a great belief in what we do, and they want to go out there and absolutely execute it at a very high level. Burge just kind of got like that DB mentality, a little bit kind of an outlier in that O-line room, like we just talked about Jake being a guy that can disappear. Not Burge, right? It's just one of those deals where he's going to kind of, you know, have that receiver DB mentality to talk a little bit and show a little bit and do some real positive things. And like those.
In other words, Bergeron be talking a lot of shit. That's what Coach Morris is trying to say, but he's trying to be politically correct. He's a shit talker.
The things you love about Burge, man, the edge he brings.
You may have already clarified this, but I just wanted to double check. When you
the edge he brings, yes, so that means these guys are out here. They getting scrappy this year in training camp, man. You know, they, you know, speaking of having an edge on them, you know, I expect the team to come out here and them to be chippy these very first 4 to 5 games. And as long as they out here executing it and they have that chippiness to them, you know, that attitude to them, that 98 dirty birds mentality where we just gonna come out here and, you know, we're gonna get nasty and we're gonna play physical. Hey man, this team can get off to an excellent start and have a great year. You know, have a great year. And that's what we're all hoping as Falcons fans.
say Troy Andersen is on schedule, do you mean for the season itself? Or what is that?
No, just and what he's been able to do to Pup. We'll see where that goes. I don't know exactly.
She asked about Troy Andersen. Is he on schedule for the season? And Raheem Morris immediately says no. Not trying to jump to conclusions, but that doesn't sound like something that's positive in terms of him being ready to play week 1. Especially when he says no. It's almost like, we're monitoring his health situation, and it does not look like he's on schedule to play week 1. But let me not put words in his mouth. Let's continue listening.
What that entails, obviously, when you're on the Pup, we activate you when we activate you. So we'll get a feel for, what that feels like just from a medical standpoint and where he's at in his rehab and things of that nature is the scheduling I'm talking about. Not necessarily doing with the season, because I want to get Troy back when he's at full health and ready to go, as opposed to trying to rush a guy back for the season.
Okay, so he's saying, he's gonna, pretty much take it day by day, week by week. He's saying that he wants him back healthy, not necessarily wants him back for week 1. So it sounds like Troy may not be back for week 1. We really haven't got a definitive answer to that yet from Coach Morris. Maybe he'll expound on that here.
So it could be for the season, and it could not be. But he's on nothing's. He has. When I say that, I mean he hasn't had a setback in what he's doing in his current rehab and things to get back for us.
This is our last time talking to you before Friday.
Is it really? Good.
Going into Friday, how different does it feel this time around going to your first?
But yeah, we'll leave on that question. But Troy Andersen once again hurt on the PUP list. Seems like the common theme of him since he has been in Atlanta. Just can't stay healthy, can't stay on the field. So I don't know what's going to be up with Troy. I know some people have speculated that he could be a training camp cut. I really don't know. But he's not doing himself any kind of favors continually being hurt. It's amazing to me that he started off training camp being injured. I thought for sure after him getting hurt, last year and missing so many games, I assumed that he would come in completely healthy. But obviously that's not the case. And Raheem Morris is really not in a position right now to say when Troy Andersen will be back healthy. Not trying to be too pessimistic about it, but he didn't really give a definitive, assertive answer to him coming back week 1. So, we'll wait and see. It sounds like that's what they're doing also as the staff. But yeah, that's Coach Raheem Morris on his press conference, really explaining why he don't like training camp fights. He says he completely dislikes them. So, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. How do you feel about training camp fights? Do you think it's a good thing for the team overall? Getting these fisticuffs in training camp, or are you one of the people like, hey man, teammates don't need to fight each other? We can be a good team without fighting each other. So let me know what y'all think about these training camp fights. Also, let me know what you think about Troy Andersen. Will he be ready for the regular season week 1, or will it be another season of Troy Andersen in the training room? Trying to get himself back healthy. But I appreciate y'all time. I will catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be good. I'm out of here. Peace.